At this juncture, I'd like to invite to the stage Kristin Saloomey, correspondent of Al Jazeera, who will be leading our first panel today, and Mr. Felipe Neto, a communicator and digital influencer from Brazil. Across his platforms, Mr. Neto reaches more than 90 million followers. He is actively involved in fighting misinformation and disinformation, and he is an advocate of greater responsibilities of platforms to address harmful content, as well as improved access to information.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Mr. Neto, for being here with us on World Press Freedom Day. You have, I'm told, 90 million followers across platforms on social media. Traditional news organizations can only dream about having an audience like that. But you've also faced legal challenges that I think traditional news organizations would probably be better, more experienced in handling, shall we say. Can you talk about how that was for you? You've been charged legally for what you've said online, accused of all sorts of things. Were you prepared for that as an influencer?
No, absolutely not. Being accused of the things I was accused was the hardest thing I ever had to deal with. And it's one thing they try to do when they can't corrupt you. They try to corrupt your soul and your image in the eyes of the audience. So when I started to really fight Bolsonaro's regime, I don't know if you know Bolsonaro. If you don't, you're very lucky. But if you do, you know what I'm talking about. And when I started really fighting his governments and his ways, I had to fight an entire industry of misinformation and defamation. So they accused me of child corruption. And it wasn't just online accusations. An investigator concluded that I was a child corrupter because in my old videos I used to say curse words, you know, just bad words that every YouTuber in the world use. And because of that, I was legally accused. After that, because they didn't manage to put me in jail, they tried to accuse me of threat of national security because I called the president a genocidal. He is a genocidal, and I will keep saying that all over the world. For the crimes he committed, he should be facing a genocidal indictment. So after everything that I had to deal with, I didn't have, of course, any preparing, but I had the resources to fight it. But a lot of people don't. So that's why I decided to create in Brazil an organization to defend people who were also persecuted by Bolsonaro's regime, and we were able to defend dozens of people for free once they faced the criminal charges that Bolsonaro tried to input in them. So I'm very proud of the work that the lawyers had, and I believe we all need to unite to defend people that are facing these kinds of threats, because it's not easy to deal with this.
So you started this foundation to help other people who are facing persecution, but you've also advocated for fighting misinformation and disinformation. So how do we do that without chilling free speech?
That's the $1 billion question, right? People all around the world are trying to understand how to regulate and how to make companies responsible for the posts, but not threatening free speech, right? So we need to find the right balance. That's the hardest thing to do. What we're looking at right now is trying to make companies act on a larger scale instead of just focusing on individual content. And that is something that we need to really understand. If we try to focus on every single post, then we create this atmosphere of deleting everything that the companies can delete, so they're not being held responsible. So what we need to do is try to make them create systems of regulating the posts in order to understand the context of what's being posted. And the algorithm, that is where the real problem lies, the algorithm, we need transparency and we need responsibility on recommendations. Recommendations are by far the biggest problem that we have online. So the companies, they want to be able to use you to sell advertisement. And because of that, democracies are being threatened. That's how far it goes. So unless we really focus on the algorithms and understand that the attention economy is one of the most problematic things that we ever had in society, we will not be able to face the problem. So companies need to sit down with specialists and understand how can we focus on attention economy in order to prevent algorithms from brainwashing people and making them radicals, because they need you to stay more time online. That's why they keep showing you videos and posts that will radicalize you, because that's the most efficient way to make you stay online. I'm a content creator. All my life, I was trained to make you stay online. I know all the guidelines, all the advices that YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram give you when you're a big creator. And they knowingly do this, trying to make you get addicted. So we need to understand how the system works and attack the system of algorithms. We need transparency, and we need recommendations to be highlighted as recommendation. Otherwise, people will continue to get a flux of radical content and continue to get addicted to things that will radicalize them. And of course, autoplay, that is a disease inside of our internet, and a disease that not a lot of people are talking about. We need to fight autoplay. That is one of the biggest weapons that radicalization uses to make people turn into this, what we're seeing right now.
And education, as you say, has been a big part of your advocacy work. So if we can't get our governments and our social media companies on board quickly enough, what else are you doing to try to spread this message?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody who has the power to influence someone, and that is everyone. Like, we are all influencers, right? Even if you influence just your child or just your mother, you're an influencer. You're impacting a life. So if it's 1 or 10 million, it doesn't matter. You need to do your part. So in Brazil, I created a Vero Institute that works on digital education. So what we believe is we created the biggest weapon humankind has ever developed, and that is the internet, the connection. Our whole future is going to be digital, and we all know that it is kind of scary, but the metaverse and everything we're seeing happening, artificial intelligence, that's all going to be a very strong reality very soon. And we created and developed this weapon that can be used for good, but we gave to all humanity without any kind of manual or instructions. So we need education. So that's what Vero Institute is doing in Brazil right now. We're working every day 24/7 trying to bring not only to children, because a lot of people, when we talk about digital education, people focus on children. Sometimes children are not the main problem when we're talking about education, because they're rising in a world where they comprehend digital world even better than our adults, right? So we need to educate our adults. We need to educate people who, when they were young, they didn't have a smartphone. They were not digitally connected. So, and these are the people who are regulating systems, and they're discussing in parliaments and etc. So we need to bring education to them. So that's what Vero Institute is doing right now in Brazil. That's the problems that we're facing, and we're trying our best to bring education to people, and we're going to continue to do that.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Neto, for your advocacy and for your comments, and highlighting the connection between these important rights: free speech, free press, and the right to an education.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
I want to thank Mr. Neto for your call on all of us to tackle dis and misinformation online, and highlighting that inextricable link between freedom of expression and right to education.